And we can see from our records that as late as 1993 we were putting water piping in place and agreements in place to a limited number of houses, right? And it's grown from there over time. And with those limited number of houses that we put agreements in place with in the early 90s, those agreements talk about being in place for 5 years at no cost, and then there'd be a cost after that, and we'd have a 1 month notice of termination of the process of water supply at some point. Here we are in 2025, right? And we heard the message from Mayor Ash earlier on a couple of things. And one of the things Mayor Ash talked about was these discussions were underway last time he was the mayor. And as you know, he's had a term off and he's back as mayor now. We actually started discussions with the council in 2005 in terms of changing the supply. So good things take time, and here we are today, right? We're not a water provider. The council, the change to the water, as the little booklet talks about, which I think is an excellent resource, the changes to the water regulations and the requirements of Matamata-Piako, the water regulator, means we can't meet those. And it's not core business for us to do that, right? So that's why we've been signalling and having a discussion about getting out of supply. But even though we've been doing it for 40 years, we're not stopping until there's a solution. And if you look at the timeline in the book, I think on page 10, that's still some time away. So let's acknowledge that even though we're signalling we're going to stop supply, we're still going to be supplying to the village for some time yet. Right? So that's a really handy resource, I think, in terms of understanding the timeline. Think about what we supply. If you look at this little sucker here, that's 1 litre of milk. We're providing, if the system's running well, we provide 100,000 litres a day to the village. So 100,000 of those go to the village. For all of this year, there's been, we had issues with leaks and everything else, and basically for all of this calendar year, we've been providing about 150,000 litres a day. So we're missing, there's a lot of water leaking or pooling somewhere. It's been hard to find because it's been so wet, we can't wade through paddocks and find it. I sent some guys out to wade through paddocks a while ago. They got chased by some dogs. That was the end of that. Standing over there, I see a leak under this water tank. I'll probably come back tomorrow and have a good look at that. So right now, all through most of this year, it's been 150,000 litres. But for the last 3 months, it's hitting about 190,000 litres a day. Right? So 190,000 of these per day is pumped over here. There's a fair bit of there's ongoing costs in maintaining what is not, what was never set up to be a permanent line or a line that's going to be there in perpetuity. So the ongoing repairs and plumbing, etc. It's like a never-ending story, right? It's a never-ending gift. So we're signalling it needs to end. We've been signalling that for some time. We've been coming to these meetings and signalling that. You see on the board at the back, there's a series of phone numbers up there. The one on the top right is AJ. Now, he was the site manager before me. So his number was up there. You can call him any time about it. And still do call AJ. He's down at Invercargill now. I'm sure we might change that number in mind. But AJ's been gone for a couple of years, and we still, that's kind of the legacy up there in Shorp, is that he was dealing with it when he was here. And so I'm hoping that I'll be the site manager that sees supply stop, but we're not going to stop supply until you guys have the solution. And so for you guys, I think for this committee, for this group of deliberators, I think this is just what an outstanding opportunity. And we also heard Mayor Ash talk about this is a different way of working for the council. They haven't done this sort of thing before. And so you are going to be the people who determine the legacy of this community. We've talked about 40 years of supply from us, and you're going to determine and come up with a recommendation of what the next 40, 50, 60 years looks like. And I reckon the local should build a statue of you lot at the end of this. Once you've determined what that looks like and what the future of this community is, which is what you're doing, you should be revered for that. Right? And Jo in particular should get a high statue because she helped with the dishes. All right? So that's how significant what you're doing is, as far as I'm concerned, is you are setting this village up for the next 40, 50, 60 years. Long beyond many of us being here, I would suggest. Many of us would have shuffled with the solution you're putting in place.